You guys know I love this cordless Makita 10-inch. I've always used the 10-inch DeWalt cordless. If you've seen my tool review, I had some issues. I was a little bit skeptical, but I still love the power and overall feel of the Milwaukee. Well, today, first time actually getting it on site. I've had it for about a week or so. Obviously, the video I did on it was a while back because of just the timeline and content, but finally getting to use it. I'm excited. I got it all set up good. The fence is square to the blade. I'll let you guys know what I think. I've got a bunch of windows to trim, 6 windows to be exact. In trimming out these windows, first thing I got to do is make some jamb extensions. That way we cover up the sides. Pretty simple. I'm just going to double check. Here I'm at 9 5/8. 9 5/8 and 9 5/8. We'll go ahead and rip these jambs down at 9 5/8. Nine 5/8, and I always just kind of do a couple checks just to make sure that we're square. Oh yeah, and I also know I don't want my blade that high. That was just checking it out, making sure. So once I have the window jamb extensions installed, I just leave them in there tight. I don't actually nail them at this point. What I do is I like to take square, and I've got a little mark here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run my square on this. This is gonna give me a little bit of a 1/4 inch reveal. And I'll do that around top and bottom. I know that these were cut at 34.5, which means that from this line, which is a 1/4 inch up, to this line, which is a 1/4 inch down, is going to be 35 inches. And that gives me my 1/4 inch reveal around the perimeter. But on the sides, you know, there could be some inconsistencies on the width because these guys are pushing out, but there's nothing really determining where these are exactly. So I always like to just double check. This one is 46 3/8. Just want to make sure it's tight. And this one is 46 3/8. So since they are the same, which is a good thing, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to run my little 1/4 inch line. So what I've got is I've got my trim that is 35 inches short point to short point on the sides and 46 7/8 short point to short point on the top and bottom. So I'll go ahead out to the miter station, I'll get those cut, and then I'll make the frame up, glue it, nail it, and then I'll put it all in as one. And what that does is that helps me make sure that those miters stay nice and tight. I'd rather make it perfect and then put it on and kind of flex the casing frame to fit exactly where I want it to, versus trying to make it right, trying to, you know, if the miters aren't an exact 45, it just takes away a lot of that headache, and I've learned that over the years. So I'll show you what I do here. I always put 2 boards at the same time. That way I can get perfect copies. This is my top and bottom trim, so I'm gonna have 2 of the exact same in the same window. First, I've already got my cut down here, my 45. I'm just gonna go ahead and get those close to lined up. And this is probably not the best way to do this, but it works, and I don't know how else to do it effectively. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put 1 inch right here on my tape measure, 1 inch, because it's really hard to put the edge of your tape measure right on the corner of the miter. And then I'm gonna come over here, and what I want is I want 46 and 7/8. But since I'm burning 1 inch on the other end, I'm actually gonna mark 47 and 7/8. And make sure that these are lined up on the end. Okay, we got it really close. I'm not perfect, but I do try to get really nice cuts. That is also another reason why I use this Select Pine. Big shout out. I think I've shouted them out before, but New Zealand, thank you for the awesome Select Pine. It's nice clear material. Makes for some nice casing. I like simple. I don't want any like colonial casing or anything. Now that I've got all the pieces made for my windows, I'll go ahead and get them all glued up. Make sure everything is good to make my frames. Nice and clean.
One of the last details I've got to mess with, this is the overhang up here on the roof, and this is the lean-to roof. So I've got my fascia, got my overhang, and I've got to do my gable trim. It's going to go up over this rib. We always make sure, one of the other things, we always make sure we've got a rib underneath our gable trim. So if you look down there, that gable trim is going up over that rib. That way water doesn't make its way in. If it gets underneath the gable trim, it just runs down. So what I've got going on here is I don't like to die this overhang on the lean-to right at the face of the wall. I like to go past it, and I do that for a couple reasons. One, because I just think it looks a little nicer, a little bit more detailed. So I feel like by going past it a little bit, I can put my piece of corner trim here, which I'm going to show you all of this detail. It's kind of a pain in the butt because you're wrapping trims around, and it's not like you know, wood where you can just kind of glue it. There's a little bit of thought that's got to go into it, and luckily I've already done 4. I just did that one. Turned out good. Every one of them keeps getting better. So we'll take you through this one the best I can. We've got to screw this down. We've got a filler strip that closes that gap. So a little filler strip's going to go in here, and this will get screwed right on top of the rib. That'll cinch down the filler strip, and then it'll help, well, not help, it'll prevent the water from going up in there. So this first piece of trim I put in, it's the sidewall connection trim, and the point of this is to flash up against the wall and then out over top of this pitch brake that we've already installed underneath the siding here. All of this here, that will all get cleaned up just as soon as we put our corner trim right here. So this doesn't look the most gorgeous because I just hand snipped it to get it out of my way, and then I'll cover that up with the corner trim. So next what we've got to do is we've got this piece of corner trim that's coming up here, and it's got to wrap around. Now, I can't do one piece because of the angle. It won't wrap around nice, so I've got to two-piece this, but my goal is to hopefully get it to fit together so that over here on this joint, it looks perfect. well, there you go. I'm not saying it's perfect. Things I always am looking to improve upon, obviously, is maybe rivets. I don't have any brown burnished slate rivet, but I could stand to put a rivet here. See here, I've got this little bend over that actually just hooks it to try to keep that closed. You've got an odd angle here, so this dimension, this here is shorter than this over here because it's on an angle, and so it's really hard to get this tight, so I have to kind of cut a little bit out of here, but I think it you know, it's probably not perfect. I know it's not, but this is a really tough angle, really tough detail, lots of different trims coming together, different planes, and I don't know. I'd love to see how other people do this detail, but I think it turned out pretty good. Man, we are getting close. We are down to finishes. Basically, you can see the inside. We're about done here. So we're just going around, we're double checking, making sure we got all of our screws in the holes. We've got all of our trims fastened. It's been a long journey. I think we've been here for just over 4 weeks. Just over 4 weeks in total. And it's a big project. Anytime that you take away from the box, you know, like the big box approach of a post frame, if this would have been 112 by 80 all in one building, probably been out of here, I would venture to say probably 2 weeks. I bet we could take 2 weeks away from this job if we would have just been putting up 4 walls and I didn't get phone calls all the time.